6 months after the Abuja-Kaduna train passengers were kidnapped by Boko Haram terrorists, the remaining 23 kidnapped victims have finally regained their freedom. The cheering news was broken yesterday by Usman, Yusuf, Secretary Chief of Defense Staff, Action Committee, CDSAC. The victims were released at 4 p.m. yesterday. And meanwhile, at least 30 people, mostly women and children, fleeing attack on Beniwaji community in Bukuyum local government area of Zamfara state, have lost their lives after canoes they boarded capsized and drowned in the river. Firstly, let's talk about the released abductors. BKO, 6 months in captivity. This is good news for all of us, especially the family of these victims.
Yes, when you bear in mind the trauma that these people have gone through, if you have a friend amongst the victims or your friend is related to a victim, you appreciate the pains, the mental agony that these people have been put through. Everyone knows that this thing happened just before the rainy season began in the north. And when it begins to rain in the north, it's always heavy. These guys were left in the open. It's not as if they were put in a 0-star hotel or something, just left out there. Some fell sick. And these bandits were extremely cruel and even wicked in demanding for ransom. You know, a businessman can be shrewd, he can be determined, he can be hard-nosed in negotiating, even among football clubs. They will tell you, Borussia Dortmund, when it comes to negotiating with them, you have to be careful. They want to get every bit of the money on you. That's just the way those bandits were. Taking 100 million from each person. The Pakistani that they abducted along with the other Nigerians paid even more. So if anyone comes to tell you, oh, those guys, they released, you remember what they were saying back then, that they released somebody because of age. And I've told Nigerians, my own friend, whose mother is 90 years, was not released. You release somebody in his early 60s, so, I mean, you said you released him on account of age, but you didn't release an old woman. So, for the pains that the people have gone through, there is no news as good as hearing that they've been released, that they are now back in Kaduna, where I think the president will even pay them a visit. You know what we've gone through? A cleric even abused our president the way I've not seen any Nigerian abuse the president. People won't know because he was speaking Hausa. Well, if you understand Hausa, I've never seen anybody do a video abusing the president the way a cleric abused our president. After they released the video of those guys flogging the abductees. As I said earlier, we are happy to hear that these guys, that this whole agony has come to an end. And on the good side, at least the moral problem that ensured that they did not even return to selling tickets, keeping that Kaduna Abuja rail corridor active. At least they can now go back to do that, because when you take loans for infrastructure, the money, you keep paying. You're paying whether you keep the rail active or not. You must pay. So I'm happy, and I'm not bothered about how this last 23 they were released. I don't even need anybody to tell me any story. I'm just happy that we have been able to put this nonsense behind us, this agony behind us. So whichever way that committee led by Yusuf was able to secure their release, I'm happy to hear that they have been released.
All right, MJ. In total, over 60 persons were captivated from that attack. And reports usually have it, like Vicky already said, over 1 million, some 200 million. Some reports even had it that 500 million were paid on some victims. Do we regard this as the new normal?
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. During a chat with a friend, it's rather unfortunate that we have to keep talking about this. None of those 67 or 68 captives paid less than 100 million. That's like the average. And when you think, for those of us who are here, it's easy for us to sit down and analyze these things. But even put yourself in a position where you are unable to have a change of clothes for 2 or 3 days. These people, for the past 6 months and a few days, they've not been able to change their clothes. Like Jide said, they have been, you can't even sit the way you want to sit. They have been in the open, like cattle in a ranch. For the past, or since March 28th. Yes. September 28th, it was 6 months exactly on September 28th. So I want to believe that the government and the security operatives are able to learn one lesson on the other from this particular incident. Well, we thank God, all of them are back. And I think I want to appeal that they put some of them through a rehabilitation process where they will have some people to manage their psyche, you know. No, let's even forget about the revenue loss as a result of the shutdown of that lucrative train service between Abuja and Kaduna. Let's forget about the revenue loss. I think they run about 2 or 3 ships per day. And since, for more than 6 months now, I mean, 3 times 6, that's more than 180 days, nothing has happened. I mean, so the revenue that we are losing, then how much is being paid to get our people released, even the businesses of these people would have suffered while in that place. So what we need to do is to prevent a recurrence, because the people who do this kind of things, what they do is to target another. I mean, they will relax, and while we think everything has died down, they'll strike again. And from all indications, I think our security operatives should plan towards Christmas, beef up security in major areas, and also towards the elections, because these characters, they will go out now and start enjoying their loot while they plan. I mean, by the time the loot is going down, they plan for another attack. I pray that we don't have this kind of calamity in our hands going further.
Amen. Mikhail, another sad happening in Zamfara State where over 30 persons have lost their lives while trying to flee from bandits.
Yes, largely women and children. You know, the boat in which they were trying to escape capsized, and we lost them. You see, that is evidence that no matter the level of improvement, that is what I always say here. Some people think, oh, he doesn't want to praise the security agencies. But I don't know any Nigerian alive who has done documentaries praising the armed forces more than I've done. There's no such Nigerian. I've not seen that Nigerian. But my own obligation to my God is to speak the truth. My loyalty is to the truth. And I keep saying that no matter the level of improvement that we have recorded, we should acknowledge that there is still a lot of work to be done. We must acknowledge that we are dealing with dangerous people who would not want to give up their pastime because they are making a lot of money from this. Their sponsors are making a lot of money. When they collect ransom, do you know that this ransom that they collected from the train passengers, family members, were submitted to them in dollars, are delivered to them in dollars? They will tell you, go and change that 100 million to dollars. They are not ready to take it in cash. They don't have the time to be carrying bags so that they will be staggering as they are walking. No, it's dollars, and they will tell you, don't use the same. No. That you too will not try it. Don't exchange the money in one place. So that means you have to go to 2 different or even more broad exchange people, so that is what they are doing. And then they will now take the money across our border so that they can go and buy weapons in the black market. They will cross the border on foot. They will cross. So this is what is happening now. They are not going to give up that kind of business easily. We have to tell ourselves the truth. So no matter the improvement in Zamfara that we are happy to announce and all that, this is evidence that danger still lurks. On market days in Zamfara, ask anybody who is in Zamfara, you know that on market days, your heart is in your mouth. Those returning after going to transact business, they are usually abducted. There's a story that is coming. Nigerians will be surprised that I did the last time I went there. So the threat has not ended. Let nobody tell us. I've heard stories that, oh, by December, insecurity will end in our country. Really? Really? I think the only way that can happen is if those guys on their own just say, okay, we are giving up. But we can't kill all of them between now and December.
All right.
That's a fact. So we just have to remain vigilant and ensure that we take them out as much as we can.